I'm going to show you 3 quick ways to dissolve the ego and experience who you truly are. Most of us have sort of realized that material possessions won't make us happy. We've maybe even renounced materialism, maybe even gone as crazy as getting rid of all our material possessions and moving to an ashram or something. This sort of same progression happens in spirituality, where you get a little piece out of meditation and you're like, oh, this is the real deal. And then you sign up for the next thing, the turbocharged, tricked out Zen Buddhism. Then you're meditating 2 hours a day, then 10 hours a day in full lotus and silent meditation retreats. It's a sort of new kind of materialism, though. You're in your spiritual materialism. And that was my path. I meditated for thousands of hours, decades. I went to tons of silent meditation retreats because I was trying to get something. I didn't figure out what it was till very late, though. And I was deep in a silent meditation retreat, which I'd done many of, a 7-day silent meditation retreat. And I sort of realized that I had devoted everything I could to this spirituality, and yet I still wasn't getting what I wanted, which was a lasting peace and presence. And something in me sort of gave up that retreat because it was actually very frustrating, very painful process, but something gave up in me. And my teacher at the time said, "You're aware of this presence, just be that." And something in me flipped. It was, and ever since then, it's never been able to flip back. That presence became readily available, but it wasn't because of the work that I'd put in. It was because I exhausted the part of me that wanted to get something. And that's fundamentally what we're working with. Is there's this illusory self that's been created since we're like 2 years old, where everyone's called this body Ben and called you whatever they call you, and so whatever they call so-and-so. And we've believed in this separate entity, and yet no one can pinpoint exactly where that begins and ends. That's fundamentally the problem with any sort of this seeking and egoic desire that goes on, is that we're trying to find something that can't be found. We're trying to find a lack of self in self. We're trying to get out of illusion from illusion. And the only way to do that is just to simply to see that you're not illusion. This is why in therapy, it kind of starts to go in circles, because people are just trying to improve the self, when in reality, the biggest problem is that we need to see that the self is an illusion. And that's where these tricks I'm going to show you will get you back into what you truly are, which is the foundation for any real healing or real dissolution of ego. Everything else is just ego shifting into new ways of being. It's ego still existing through spirituality or minimalism or materialism or trying to be still. You can't stop this process. It's trying to avoid a fundamental suffering that stems from distruth. It stems from this idea of a separate self, which we've held on to since a very young age. And that's the experiences of that self have been held in the body as trauma and created this suffering, which we then seek to get rid of through whatever ways we seek. So the quickest way to bring all this to a rest, I'm going to give you a few tricks. The first one is we can just kind of close our eyes for a moment here. And if you're driving or something, obviously do what you can, but don't close your eyes. And take a few breaths, sort of get relaxed here as best you can. And then we're just going to ask ourselves, who am I? And we want to answer this question without relying on thought. And if any answer came up, that's probably thought, and you should keep doing this. But if the answer is nothing, sort of a spacious unknown, then that's what you truly are. That's it. It's that simple. But I'm going to give you 2 other ways to get there, okay? So notice whatever you're noticing through sight right now. In my case, I see a camera and then I see the room around it. But just notice. And then now notice what's noticing. And that should be the same thing. You notice this sort of pull back into, I don't know. And that's it. Okay, one more way. So feel your feet however they feel right now. I feel a carpet, or I feel they're a little warm. And now feel the feeler. And the same thing, that should pull you back into what you truly are, this I don't know space. And anytime this is available, give it your attention, this space that you truly are, and eventually it'll become permanent. This is the only space from which real healing happens. This is actually the only thing that is real. It is fundamentally what we truly are. Everything else is an illusion built on top of that. And you'll notice that from this space, life happens much more fluidly. Things go into balance automatically. Healing happens automatically. Things start to release because they're seen much more easily as illusion. And life happens sort of automatically. You can, walking happens automatically, doing the dishes, working. Part of the trap of the ego is believing that we have to believe in that illusion and be stuck in it in order to function. But actually, you'll notice that this space is much more functional because it's not attached to individual outcomes and history and stories and things that are happening. And it's that simple to get access to. The more time you spend in this, the more freedom and the more feeling of aliveness you'll have. Now, you don't have to go through incredible devotion and giving up all your material possessions or living at an ashram or meditating for 10 hours a day to have access to this, which is always available. And the more time you spend in this, there will be new sort of questions and things to talk about that come up. But in general, it's that simple. So if this helped you at all, please do me a huge favor and comment, like, or subscribe. And thanks for being here.